feel about going to a restaurant on Sunday, shopping on Sunday? If you're okay with golfing, so I mentioned earlier
that you're a golfer.
We are commanded to keep Sunday holy as a day of rest. My thought is that if we truly obey this command, Sunday will look different than the other 6 days, and we wouldn't encourage others to do unnecessary work such as serving food, running golf courses, etc., when they should also be having the day of rest. Plus, it's good for us to have a quiet, restful day to start the week. Thoughts?
Interesting. Good question. What's your answer?
Romans 14 verse 5 says, one person esteems one day as better than the other, while others esteem all days alike. Each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. Pastor Jonathan says, while I think the Sabbath is a good pattern for us to hold, it doesn't fall under a command in the same way it did in the Old Testament Israel. There's a longer discussion behind that. That being said, I do think it should look different than the rest of your week, and ignoring that is to our detriment. I would argue that how exactly we work that out would fall into the category of conscience. That's like Romans 14:5. We are also not giving specific commands on how to do this, and Jesus goes out of his way to often break the made-up rules that others have made. So I would fall into that category. I believe the Sunday was made for man and not, we're not doing it for God. It's for us. I think there's also other days of the week that can be your Sabbath.
Here, I just flipped open. So for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I just flipped open. This is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. It'd be a great book, especially for you that hold the Sabbath very tightly, which is how we were raised. And Marie and I just listened to this book recently on a drive, and I just flipped this book open. And because I was looking for something on the Sabbath in here, because he talks a lot about it, and he takes the Sabbath serious, to a degree that I don't, and I'm not even sure is I wouldn't even necessarily agree with. So he talks.
I do lockbox my phone almost all day Sundays usually.
Yeah. So and I heard a sermon recently from a great pastor who I didn't agree with the sermon at all, but he as a pastor from.
You didn't agree with the sermon at all?
I didn't agree with it at all. He's a great pastor. He's a great pastor, but he preached this on this text, and it says, but it was Jesus on the Sabbath. It was a lazy Saturday afternoon, hot with clear skies overhead. Jesus was hiking through a cornfield with his apprentices, like you do. It was the Sabbath, and this was one of many stories about Jesus and the seventh day. Built into Jesus' life rhythm was a core practice, an entire day every week set aside just to slow down, to stop. So now, remember, this guy who's writing this book, proponent of Sabbath, of rest, right? But on this particular Sabbath, Jesus got into trouble with the Pharisees. They took issue with how Jesus and his friends were celebrating the day, royally missing the heart of God behind this practice. It was a loving rebuke. Jesus simply said, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. What a stunning line. Here we are thousands of years later, reading and rereading it, yet sadly, often misreading it. In context, Jesus was beating up on a legalistic, guilt-heavy religious culture that had totally missed the Father's heart behind the command to slow down one day a week. Translation, a culture that was, in this area, the exact opposite of our own. First century Jews needed to hear the second half of that command. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. They had it backward, cart before the horse and all that. Fast forward to the 21st century, we aren't legalistic about the Sabbath, and this is where he goes, most of us don't even practice the Sabbath. A day off, sure. Sunday worship, when I can. But Sabbath, very few of us know exactly what that means. So this be a good book for people on all ends of the spectrum, right? Where it's like, I think that the verse you read is a verse that I often quote, because I feel like people, there again, it's box checking, and box checking is not love of God. Box checking is just finding comfort in rules and regulations, and any action that does come should come from a love for the Lord. And it's like, should we want to have our day? Should we want to have our day crammed full of anything on our Sabbath? No, we shouldn't, right? Yeah. And I mean that could be.
But there's people that will keep the Sabbath holy, whatever, not working and stuff like that, but they're not even Christians, so they're not saved.
Yeah, but what makes it holy?
Well, not only that, but like if you're not saved, then it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's not done in faith. It doesn't matter. Like it's still. God's not impressed. No, you're not. It's not a check mark system. We're not Catholic, right? So it's like there's no.
That's a good, we won't go there, but it's just kind of like, it's not a check mark system, right? And
no, it's not.
Like I say, there's no, your good deeds are filthy rags. There's a verse like that.
Yes.
I wish I knew the verse, but.
Which is, you know what a filthy rag is?
No, don't say. I got an inkling. Where I was going with that was just, there's no amount of good deeds and one day a week doing all the right things that's going to earn you any points anywhere. And but having said all that, Sabbath is healthy, and we're called to Sabbath. And what does that look like in our life, right? And I mean, for a pastor,
my dad took Mondays.
Yeah, well, he's got to take a different day. And it's not Sunday. It's not the one day that you think. Like, it's another day where he shouldn't be running around town doing all his errands because that's his free day. No, that's his Sabbath day. And I think in our culture, when you're Dutch, I mean, it's literally the only reason that people don't work. You know, and it's fascinating because it is healthy to. What
I find is interesting, like physically healthy, is in our culture where there's a lot of like working too much and stuff like that, and neglecting the family because of it. That, you know, like, oh, it's too busy, work's too busy, stuff like that. I don't have time. But then Sunday comes along, and all of a sudden they like know how to like not work at all. Like, it just like everything is shut down for sure.
It's impressive,
and so it's funny because it's like shows that you can actually do it if you want to, if you really believe it enough.
Yeah, but when you're Dutch and you have to shut down for 24 hours, those other 6 days need to be really productive. I'm telling you.
But
going to be full on workaholic in
your
the other 6
actions
days.
show what you believe.
Yeah. There again, it's so complicated. There's people that need to work way more, and there's people that need to work way less. And there's people that need to know how to be less religious about the Sabbath, and there's people that probably really need to be convicted to just. And for us and our family, like Marie and I, it's about. I mean, first of all, I don't like being intentionally contentious, to be disrespectful to people that hold it in a certain light. But for us, our challenge is just not having it be a crazy busy day, even with good things, or even, you know, I think just family stuff, or even just.
I think it's a beautiful way to host people too.
Yeah, and we do that, but it's like I just think it's Sabbath means, I think it means rest.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of the word. And so I think even with church stuff, it's like you go to church twice, you have some singing thing. And now, like, that's a pretty busy day when you have a bunch of little kids, right? And so wisdom would tell you that there needs to be boundaries around those things, right? And what does that look like? And anyways, we're going to go on a real rabbit trail here.
Well, and like the Bible also doesn't give us a list of like what's allowed, what's not allowed.
Yeah. The other thing, I'd have the question, I guess, for the person that asked the question. It's a good question. I've thought of those things about making other people work, but like they're not working because you don't, like, these are non-Christian people. They don't read the Bible. Like, the chance of them becoming a Christian are more likely if you went and, like, and there again, I'm not, if that's against your conscience, then it would be wrong for you to go do it. So I'm not saying that you would go out to eat. Yeah. I'm just saying if you went out to eat and you bless someone well and you tip them well and you know, share the gospel with them.
You go out to eat on Sunday? Like
I would. We don't hardly ever do it, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't feel guilty about doing it. No. Whereas when I grew up, it was the Cardinals.
It's funny when I started, like, once in all the groceries on Sunday, and then you run into someone that still has the background of like, you're not supposed to be out on Sunday, and then you see each other in the grocery store, and they're just like, you look at them and they're also like, look away really fast. Yeah. And also they realize that you're there too, so they're not sure anymore.
I mean, I'd be in a unique situation where the pendulum swung really far one way, and now I would feel more, Marie and I, and thankfully we're totally on the same page, but we feel, there again, we just feel convicted about what it looks like, right? And I feel like it's I think that there's a lot of things that we used to do on Sunday that we wouldn't do now, because it's just been a journey of, hey, that's just not a great way to spend the Lord's Day, right? And but anyways, do you know why we do church on? I should know this, but why do Christians do the Sabbath on the first day of the week instead of the last? Why aren't we all 7-day Adventists?
Because Jesus rose
on Sunday.
Yeah, that's why.
So that's when it switched.
Yeah.
Does it say it right in the Bible to switch it to that day?
No.
Who did that? Just the early church switched at some point?
Good question. Don't know.
Okay. Anyways.
Well, it's also funny to me, like these religious questions that come up, because I'm just a regular dude, you know, and like, I mean, Dad was a pastor, and I know some theology or whatever beliefs, but a lot of this stuff is like, I feel goes above my pay grade.
Cool. I just feel like it's a conscience thing. And if you're doing it because it's bringing you comfort following a rule, you're in deep trouble. Yeah. And I know for me, that's how I'm wired. It's like, how can I accomplish the goal and check the box? And that's not a relationship with God. That's just That's religion. That's box checking, and that's dangerous. You're in danger. So
I was actually talking to someone about the other day. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.